Hi, greetings from Singapore. I'm Soon-Hwa Wong, Vice Chair of PATA, Pacific Asia Travel Association. Now, it is unbelievable that we have already been some 8 months into the global pandemic. Perhaps we shouldn't call it the new normal anymore. It is perfectly normal in many countries to see borders closed, restricted movements, mask wearing, social distancing. In fact, we are really into the new reality. Now, having said that, on a global basis, we are about halfway through the pandemic. Now, if that is really the case, then we got to accept the fact that recovery will take a lot longer than we earlier anticipated. So right now, we need to refocus our efforts and resources on staying afloat to make sure that we will be around when recovery finally comes. Now, many people would say that we are caught in this, we are in the same boat. No, I don't think we are in the same boat. Some are big ocean liners and some are small fishing boats. The truth is that we are caught in the same storm. So each one of us have to deal with it in our own way. Today's topic is building tourism ground up, China tourism in the post-COVID world. Now, China is leading in the recovery efforts. Without a playbook, when the novel coronavirus was first detected in Wuhan, it was amazing to see how well the Chinese government and together with the Chinese people have responded. Now, it is true that every country is different, but I'm sure we can learn a lot from the China experience. Today, we are very fortunate to have four distinguished panelists representing different sectors of the tourism industry. They will share with us how they have managed the crisis so far, the lessons that they have learned, and how they will prepare to meet the many new challenges ahead, as well as leverage on the opportunities presented in the post-COVID world. So without further ado, please allow me to briefly introduce our four panelists. Firstly, we have Vali Polak, Senior Director Sales, Greater China, Lufthansa Group. Vali, would you like to just wave to everyone? Yeah. So welcome to the panel.
Thank you.
We have Ken Wong, Vice President of Sales and Distribution, Accor Greater China. Ken, welcome.
Hello, everyone.
Chris Van Gotem, Managing Director, MICE, Leisure and Sports at Thomas Cook China. Welcome.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah, and last but not least, Liu Huiyuan, General Manager, Inbound China Tourism Group.
Hello, everyone.
Now, without a playbook, it is very important that we learn from people who have been through it. And for the first question, I'm going to pose the first question to all four panelists, right? And they will present to you what they have learned from their respective sectors to help others navigate the crisis better. What are the key learnings and takeaways in your journey so far? So each one of you will have about 3 minutes to talk about this. And can we get Vali to kick this off from the Lufthansa perspective as well as the aviation sector?
Thank you, Soon-Hwa, for the introduction, and thanks for having me in this panel. One of the key learnings for us was basically that we are not alone in this. We are all together. And it's about basically the entire aviation industry. And we soon learned it's not geographically limited to Asia or China, where it started first. And so we basically then discovered that it's a global thing. And for us, it was key. The learning was the stabilization of our operation and the crisis communication in terms of basically for our own employees worldwide to secure, to safeguard them, and also for our customers to make sure that we communicate with them thoroughly where they are, and wherever we were allowed to and asked to organize the repatriation. And since we are a home carrier to Germany, to Austria and Switzerland, as well as to Brussels, Belgium. So we discovered basically that those are the nations, they love traveling, and they love traveling globally everywhere in a piece of places. So the repatriation took some while. What we also then learned is basically looking forward is to let go the past first and try to define what the new tomorrow, what the new future will be. And the further stabilization in the crisis management and also adjusting cost-wise, securing our financial situation by also organizing and getting the state aids. And we are now in the process of restructuring to be ready for the new future. And we also learned that the new tomorrow will actually last longer. That means it's not a sprint we are looking towards to, it's a marathon. And for that marathon, we need to be prepared. So that's why it was also important for us, and it is important that we take our time to be prepared for this marathon as best as we can, so that we also, in relative terms, end up actually as one of the winners of this long marathon.
Thank you, very, very interesting sharing. So now we can get Ken to share with us, his experience at the Accor Group itself, as well as the hotel industry. Ken, please. Yeah.
Thank you. I think the key thing that we have learned throughout the journey is to be very consumer centric. We always talk about being very consumer centric, but during this time it's even more important. If we recall, what happened was most hotels started thinking about recovery. It was a time when it was right after Chinese New Year. And thinking about the consumers at that time, what people were thinking back then was that so a lot of people planned for their Chinese New Year trip, but they were not able to travel. So deep inside, many of the consumers are saying that, well, I did not have the opportunity to travel abroad or to travel domestically to other places, but I still want to travel. So right from the start, we were thinking, well, business travel is not there, but however, at the same time, consumers are thinking about leisure travel. So right from the start, we were following the consumer sentiment to start creating in-city staycation packages. So for those who are actually here in Shanghai or those who are in Beijing, they could actually spend a weekend at a hotel where they can actually get away from their home. Back then, what happened was people were quarantined back at home. They spent a lot of time at home. And as soon as people started feeling that, okay, a little bit safer to get outside, and that's probably starting around end of March or April, people start, okay, let's spend some time going to a hotel and just to change the environment a little bit. And then later on, the consumer is starting telling us that, well, we're ready to travel, but at the same time, it's only for a short getaway. So we then worked with many of our business partners to put together short getaway trips. As an example, in Shanghai, there will be many short getaways that is within like a 2-hour drive. We know back then consumers were not ready yet to fly, but they were ready to actually travel to a nearby city. So we followed the consumer sentiment and start working on that. And then all in all, you can see that when we actually, during the first few months, we were actually focusing mostly on leisure travel. And at that time, we were partnering with many different Chinese platforms because it's domestic only. So we're working with partners like Ctrip, Flaky, Meituan Dianping, all these big players in the marketplace to drive domestic travel. And then at the same time, we had planned to launch our new loyalty program here in China as well as around the world. So what we did was we put together a marketing campaign to integrate the launch of our loyalty program together with some voucher sales. Knowing that Chinese consumers are still thinking about leisure travel, but domestically, we took the opportunity to actually introduce our products to our consumers. And then at the same time, we start working with our business travelers, our corporate accounts to start planning. And at that time, we had our global program ready, which is all about safety and cleanliness in our hotel, what we call the All Safe. So we took the global standards and implemented in China. But not only did we implement the global standards, we also worked with the local government to understand the local standards, which is actually in some cases higher than the global standards, and we implemented those as well. So that again, we know that the consumers are thinking about travel safety, so we implemented our new standards not only for business travelers but also for meetings. So all in all, what we've learned throughout the journey, as you rightly pointed out, nobody had experience doing that. But what we need to do really is to focus on the consumers and follow the consumer sentiment.
Thank you. Thank you again for sharing what Accor was doing. Next, we have Chris. Every sector has its own challenges. I'm sure the MICE sector has its own very interesting challenge because the MICE business is all about bringing many people together, right? But in social distancing, we are trying to get less people coming together. So, Chris, perhaps if you can share with us, your learnings as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Soon-Hwa. When all this started back in February, the first thing what we learned is to stay calm because there was a lot of questions around us. The first 2 months we spent canceling groups and meetings and everything for about 2 months, and then we started waking up to the new reality. So what do you do then? You still stay calm, but then you have to start being creative. And you have to think, what are we going to do next? So you have to reinvent yourself, So inbound is not coming. Inbound is going to zero. Our company is also doing outbound. That's gone as well. So what do? Everyone that was doing inbound and outbound is now doing domestic. So the domestic market in the first months, of course, there was not much movement for reasons that we know. But already there was a lot of ideas out there. Ken just mentioned it, the vouchers, So people need cash flow. How do we keep our staff in the office? We need cash flow. So we started, like everybody else, selling hotel vouchers that were valid until the end of the year, some of them until the end of next year. So you start seeing money come in. Some hotels, they bring actually a lot of turnover, and that keeps people going. So that was a short-term strategy that we did. Then we moved into the summer when within the country people were able to begin to travel again. It's true, there was very exciting times. So we started looking at Yunnan, Sichuan, Tibet, Silk Road, all these places were suddenly open for travel. So we were able to create products, but in the beginning, please also remember that people were not allowed to travel across to other provinces as groups. So it was still only FIT based, still only voucher based. So these were still struggling times. But since we now learn a lot about the domestic business, we realize that the Chinese community that normally goes abroad to spend money, obviously now they are actually spending a lot of money inside the country. So that's where the opportunity lies for many of us. So we all adapted. We have to be chameleons in such circumstances and change from within, and learn how to grab a piece of that market. And we've seen now, we're 7 months into the crisis, as you said before, it's a marathon, it's not over, we're still in it. But we've learned a lot and we've come a long way. We see that the domestic MICE business is coming back. There are conferences happening of more than 100 people, or more than 1,000 even if you start looking around. And within the group that we are part of, Fosun, we also have a lot of business assets ourselves. We have some hotels that are turning around very well, even busier this summer than last summer. So it's crazy. So we are waking up to this new world, which is giving us a lot of motivation and passion in the short term. But at the same time, we have to keep planning for the mid and the long term. So that's another way we need to be creative. because our clients overseas, they've all gone quiet. We are communicating, of course, with them, but there's not that much to say. It's not like, hey, give me a quote for this group, because there isn't any. So we have to stay positive. So short term, we are active on the domestic market. I've even started doing some live broadcasting with our marketing team. I do that in Chinese to the Chinese crowd, so it's giving us a bit of diversion as well. So we enjoy it. So I say it again, maybe as a final word: stay calm, be creative, and believe that the future is still there, and it will be exciting. That's my input.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah, you are very, very innovative ideas, and certainly very motivational for us to continue the fight.
Yeah.
Now, when we talk about China tourism, many of us sometimes tend to think that it's all about outbound, because China is the largest outbound source market in the world. But in case some people may not be aware, China is the fourth largest inbound destination in the world. So it's still a very, very significant business when we talk about inbound travel into China. So for our last panelist, Hui Yuan, he will share with us how Beijing tourism and China tourism in particular has been coping over these 7-8 months, and how do they intend to help China open up the market so that we can bring the world to China. Hui Yuan, please. Yeah.
Thank you, Soon-Hwa, and it's an honor to meet some of you online and one on spot. And I agree with what you said, that we are on a different boat but in the same storm. I want to add another line, is that we all begin with the same beginning but with different ending. And so the lesson we learned is that you need to be respond quickly, and you need to eliminate the options. So when the pandemic happens, so we spent the whole February to cancel the groups. We canceled 1,202 groups and 14,000 travelers. So that's a lot of people. And then I have to look through the options, that what we can do and what we can't. We can't do nothing about the inbound market. We can't do nothing about the promotion or whatever. Then we have two options left, and one is my team is intact. Two is that our product is there. So we focus all our effort on these two options, the team and product. So we reconstruct the team. We put 160 persons. They used to have 14 departments into 5 different groups. Some doing design, some doing sales, some doing the product research, and some doing the market research. So we also have an online group to turn all our inbound product into domestic product. Then we began to train our team, let them know about the new customers. So they share the same product, but two different clients. So we know nothing about the Chinese consumers. We know more about international consumers. So we began to learn from our domestic departments. We invite them to give out lectures and trainings. So they receive almost like 2 trainings in March every week. So by the mid-March, the company made a decision that all the departments turn into the domestic market. So we react quickly. So we put forward 100 different products. Then by April 17th, we have 46 products online. By April 27th, we already have our first booking. So on the 1st of May, our Labor Day, we sold 260. We have 260 domestic consumers. And we have the caravans, we have very short half-day for big city tours. We have, the suburban tours, all half-days. We don't offer hotels, we don't offer long-haul trips, only half-days, family trips. So it's become very popular. So the lesson we learned was that when things happen, you have to go through the options, do eliminations. Do not waste your time to worry about things you can't do nothing about it. And focus on the things you can do and make changes. And we looked through all the customers and we focused on the higher income customers. So our product are very much focused, not the traditional domestic product, but the product that's more expensive and more education oriented. So in that case, the parents can bring the kid with them instead of just a tour into those historic heritage places. We offer lectures on sport. So by the August 26th, the last time we did the statistics, so we already surpassed our domestic apartments. For our product, become the best sellers on the market. Now I included in the booklet published by the Culture and Tourism Bureau by the Dongcheng District. So in the future, and we are going to expand our product, that's education content and family-oriented, high-income groups, and from Beijing to other cities. So we offer the fragmented product instead of a packaged product. So all the partners working with could put our product in the existing route and product. And so in that case, we form a new line of domestic product. So that's our experience. Hope that could be help with our all the industry. Thank you.
Thank you, Hui Yuan. In a crisis, it's not necessarily that the smartest or the richest, the most powerful that will survive. It is those who are most adaptable. And I think we are hearing from all four panelists how using their own resources, working within constraint, can still deal with the crisis. So now let's move on to the second question, again for all four panelists. Yeah. Looking forward, looking ahead, what would be your outlook for Beijing tourism in particular and China tourism in general? So for this, can we get perhaps Ken to kick off? Yeah.
Thank you. I think I heard all the other panelists talking about domestic travel, and we believe that the domestic travel will still be the priority for the tourism market here in China in the near future. We very much look forward to inbound travelers from the rest of the world, but I think, as we all know, there isn't really a clear timeline as we speak right now. So, but nonetheless, I think what we learned, as I said earlier, is to focus on the consumer sentiment, focus on what consumers are thinking. And what we learn is that consumers are thinking a lot about new experiences. When they travel abroad, they think about new experiences. When they travel domestically, they also think about new experiences. So what here we're talking about is taking the opportunity to introduce new destinations to consumers. Places where they may not have thought about going, now is an opportunity for them to think more about domestic travel. They can go to those places. And even, for example, when they go to Beijing, there's probably opportunity for us to also think about what else in Beijing, what are the new attractions in Beijing that we can actually introduce to the domestic travelers. On the other hand, as we know that the meeting business is a big part of the business. So, and we can see that actually across different industries and sectors, different companies and different meeting organizers, and they're all trying to ramp up their meeting business, and we've been receiving quite a number of inquiries as well. And so it's Beijing hotels are also receiving a lot of inquiries. As an example, end of the month, there's the auto show, and our hotel colleagues in Beijing and are all ready to receive many of these auto show visitors. So we're very optimistic about the travel industry, particularly in the near term about domestic travel. But as and when the international market is ready, I'm sure the Chinese tourism industry will open our arms and welcome the international travelers as soon as they're ready to travel.
Thank you, Ken. Yeah, it's encouraging to hear about the positive developments, at least in the domestic front. Yeah. Next, can we get Hui Yuan to tell us about your outlook for the next 6 to 12 months? Yeah.
I agree with Ken that I'm quite optimistic about the resuming of the market because we already have some booking in September from Macau, and we have some group booked for October. I don't think in the next few months of 2020 there will be many groups coming from board, but there will be some pre-booking. So we already have over 1.5 million pre-bookings from British market starting from April next year. So my personal anticipation is that we are looking at the first turning point of the Easter 2021. If everything starts, so the pandemic goes away and the market starts at Easter next year, and we are looking at 50% market that's compared to 2019. But if that's possible to the summer vacations, so we look at about like 30% of 2019. If that goes further back or put away to like September, October, and we only anticipate like 10% of inbound market of 2019. So I think there are two things that help international travels. One is that people accept and get used to travel with their masks. Second is that the vaccines that international accepted, that could be accepted, being used when they start traveling. So that's my personal anticipation of inbound market. Still, we cannot give up our effort on domestic market. So we choose, as China Tourism Group, we focused on our effort on 9 destinations instead of nationwide destinations. So like I said, we look at the options, we focus on the options we think we could do better. And so that's, my personal anticipation of the inbound market in coming months.
Thank you, Hui Yuan. So Chris, for the MICE market, how do you see the outlook for the next 6 to 12 months? Yeah.
I think the question is very interesting because you say 6 to 12. There is a huge difference between the 6 and the 12, in my opinion. The next 6 months, I mean, I very much agree with everyone else that it's going to be very much a domestic scene. And we can only hope that after 6 months, which will be towards Easter, like Hui Yuan just said, that the inbound business can come back. Let's not forget that the winter is normally the low season anyway for inbound in China, so we won't lose that much. So we can wait. In the meantime, in the short term, we have to continue focusing our domestic efforts while all the time continue to prepare for the future, because the future will bring back inbound business. There will be inbound MICE, inbound sport events, leisure business in that order. What I would hope from a nationwide perspective is that when the gates of China reopen to foreigners, I assume that the business community will be the first one to come back, because a lot of people are doing business with China and they want to come back. So those business visas, once they are out there, people will grab them and come over to China. Now for leisure groups or just travelers, they will be more hesitating. So even if they could come this year, I don't see them coming. You then also need to know are there current quarantine rules, then for sure they will not come. The quarantine rules will have to be totally abandoned before leisure travelers will come to China. Business people, they might say, okay, I can stay 2 weeks in one place and then do my business, some of them. So I can only hope that, of course, a lot of it depends on how it goes abroad as well. But when the gates of China open, of the Forbidden City where we are here, we hope that we can receive our clients again as soon as possible in the best conditions possible, which means when they land, they can be received under certain conditions, and then the day after they can start going to do their business. But we remain positive. So what do we do in the meantime? We keep working on our products. We take our staff around on inspections to better understand. We follow Beijing tourism closely when they come up with new ideas, the Great Wall by night, things like that. It's all very exciting. But really the perception of China for us as ambassadors for the business and for the country even, we need to send a message abroad that China is actually the safest country to be in today in the world. I'm very convinced about that. So hopefully we can all together say that as one voice and welcome the business back in a foreseeable future. Thank you.
Yes, unity in crisis, right?
Yeah. There's an opportunity in every crisis.
Yes, never waste a good crisis. Yeah. So, Valley, IATA has said that it would take some time, in fact, 2024, before air travel will return to pre-crisis level. Do you share the same view? Yeah.
Totally. In the beginning of the crisis, our board actually projected something until 2023. And with our restart in June, overall, we were quite positive. Yeah, it could somehow, ramp up, and we could increase globally flights. But there was, of course, also setback because, especially in Europe, some countries like Spain and also Italy and otherwhere, we could see another wave coming. And that's actually also another learning that it's a marathon and that it's not going to come back on the pre-COVID-19 level by 2023, but most probably even longer, 2024. That's what we know today. So 6 months down the road, we could maybe see some new things. There is also, if there is any positiveness to this crisis, then it's the fact that the digitalization globally has increased heavily. Not so much in China. I think in China we could see already it was in place, and the fact that we have this online platform panel is also speaks for itself. So for the business world, we don't expect actually that business will this non-essential business travel will come back any soon. And companies have somehow learned that it's possible to do your job, to do your meetings and whatever is required. But the good thing is that visiting friends and families and doing some leisure trip, it's not possible to do it digitally. So you want to basically taste the air, you want to taste the ocean, you want to taste basically the cultural differences in other countries. And that's basically, we also believe that demand will be there. And Beijing, with its big catchment area, offers a lot of that. And but we don't see that coming back any soon, also because of the fact that right now the borders are closed for tourism. And we are talking about basically inbound tourism to Beijing. And just last week, 8 countries were basically introduced for travel directly between Beijing Capital International Airport. So that means the basis first, the regulatory basis need to start. Borders need to open. The airport needs to open, and also the travel mode, meaning testing, quarantine, how many days, and testing before, testing after, so that people can rely on those rules and regulation and can plan accordingly. Right now, any travel plan anywhere in the world becomes something very, very difficult. So therefore, we believe in much more in leisure business, and especially also for China, not only outbound but also inbound. But for this, the overall frame need to be defined. And I also would join my panelist colleagues that we are looking something actually 6+ months. So for us, or I personally believe that this winter will be a long one and a cold one, at least for the aviation.
Thank you, Veli, for the update here. So we have a very short half-hour panel. I hope during this 30 minutes you have benefited from the sharing from our 4 panelists. Yeah. Now recovery will come, right? If it's not if, but when recovery will come. So the challenge is between now till then, how do we stay engaged? We cannot wait for the day to come. We got to be all ready in our own way so that when recovery comes, we are ready to go from the starting block. So meanwhile, let's hope everyone stays safe, keep well, and hope that the vaccine will be found very soon. And then we can go back to the good old days of travel where people can travel freely, people can meet freely all over the world. Have fun.
Hopefully.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.